Bit of a busy day in Canberra. Let's go there now for the headlines. Sky News political reporter Joel Philp.
Good evening. The Australian government has recorded its biggest surplus on record, with an unprecedented $100 billion budget turnaround. Releasing the final budget outcome for last financial year, Jim Chalmers has confirmed a $22.1 billion surplus for his first full year as Treasurer.
This is, in dollar terms, the biggest surplus ever, and it comes when inflation was at its peak.
By banking that money, the government is saving billions in interest on debt.
We would be paying $12 billion more in interest payments over the current 5 years.
The opposition argues it's a gift from the former government.
Well, thanks Coalition, thanks resources sector, thanks coal, thanks iron ore.
Any surplus is a good surplus. However, the real test of a government is whether it can maintain those surpluses, and already Jim Chalmers has waved the white flag on that and said that he won't be able to deliver one next year.
Experts believe no one in Canberra deserves credit.
It didn't happen because of anything that any politician did. We've long known that inflation effectively steals from the pockets of families. It hands to business and it hands money to government.
The government denies it's trying to shield Labor premiers as pressure grows over the narrow scope of its COVID inquiry. The 12-month inquiry will largely look at decisions made by the former Morrison government and is explicitly not looking at decisions by the states, including border closures, snap lockdowns and vaccine mandates.
Well, it will take into account all of the decisions that the Commonwealth took and all of the decisions that the Commonwealth will be asked to take into the future.
But not the states. That's the key here, Treasurer.
But we take responsibility for our part of this.
The inquiry also lacks the teeth of a royal commission. It can't compel witnesses and it appears it won't hold public hearings. Victorian Premier Daniel Andrews says he'll cooperate.
They're the federal government. Like, it's not for them to look into the states, just nor would it be up for us to look into the federal government. They're having an inquiry. I'm happy to participate, to be called, to appear, to provide documents, to assist.
The new Qantas CEO has flagged changes to the airline's operations after several controversies. Vanessa Hudson has issued an apology to customers via video, committing to a review of policies.
I know that we have let you down in many ways, and for that I am sorry. We haven't delivered the way we should have, and we've often been hard to deal with.
She also revealed she hasn't spoken to former CEO Alan Joyce since he stepped down from the top job earlier this month.
Look, you heard me at the top of the show. The PM has gone back on that promise to hold a Royal Commission into COVID. Instead, we've got this whitewash, Clayton's inquiry, the sort of inquiry you have when you don't want an inquiry. Can't compel witnesses, can't subpoena documents, there'll be no public hearings, and all the premiers have got to leave pass. I mean, it is shocking, to say the least. Joining me now for the latest on this and more, my favourite panel of the week, or certainly on Friday night, One Nation Chief of Staff James Ashby, 2GB radio host Luke Grant. James, I tell you, are you as angry as I am that after everything we went through, these buggers, these state premiers in particular, are they going to get off scot-free? Where's the justice for everyone who had to live through their appalling decision-making and their secret decision-making?
Well, you and I are going to use tempered language tonight, but there are a lot of furious people sitting in their lounge rooms, sitting here around the campfire here at Wedderburn. We've just been talking about it, Peter. The simple fact were many people went interstate to go and see loved ones. You raised this at the top of the hour. Go and see loved ones before they passed away. Some had gone down for funerals and had planned to be in Victoria, for example, for only a matter of days before flying back to Queensland. I've got somebody around the campfire here who was stuck in Victoria for 6 months, could not enter back through to Queensland because of the hard lockdowns that were enforced by that state. Now, I think we need a Royal Commission. It should be nothing short of a Royal Commission. We owe it to the people of this country. Every person to some degree suffered. The reality is, as you rightfully pointed out, nobody has to turn up to this inquiry. We found that with our own inquiry. Pfizer didn't even want to turn up. We quite literally had to demand they turn up to an inquiry and they didn't answer anything. So, look, unless we have a Royal Commission, people will not get answers. I'm not looking to blame anyone. I don't think any Australian's looking to blame anybody. But as you rightfully point out too, we need to know how to deal with these pandemics moving forward, because inevitably there will be another one.
Look, this is such a good point that James is making there, Luke. This is not about anybody who's in power now or who was in power at COVID. It's about being honest about the next pandemic, what we can learn from that. I'm sad to say it'll happen in our lifetime. I think it will become more and more a biological weapon of war. We saw how disabled everything was right around the world as soon as COVID hit. So it will be something we will see again. So let's learn from what we got right. Let's deal with what we didn't get right. And all the secrecy that went on. I mean, Victoria, the Parliament didn't even sit. Those health orders were never made public. All of that should see the sunlight in our democracy so that people can see who made the decisions and why.
Yeah. You know what? 30 years on air, I've done a week for Ray Hadley this week. I have never seen the anger I've seen in the last few days. I simply haven't. This is worse than the carbon tax moment. And as James said, and you agreed, Peter, I agree. It's not about scoring points against Daniel Andrews or Stasia or Mark McGowan or even Gladys. It's not about that. It's about the people that couldn't say goodbye to their dying parents or couldn't even go to something simple like an outdoor wedding. Now, our lives were trodden on. Freedom was, we were deprived of it very often over that period. And people, whilst they might not be outwardly angry, inside, they're filthy. And whether the Prime Minister is going to be tricky with his words or not, and say, well, actually didn't say a Royal Commission. He said something like a Royal Commission. It's not good enough. You have a Royal Commission into robo-debt, and this doesn't deserve a Royal Commission. It's a joke, and he's going to pay Peter. I can tell you the reaction has been extraordinary.
Yeah. I might add too, Jim Chalmers saying you don't have Royal Commissions involving the states. There are countless examples where states have referred powers on specific issues to a National Royal Commission, so that's a lie. And Malcolm Turnbull had a Royal Commission into an ABC TV program involving a juvenile detention centre in Darwin. So I think...
That's right.
Anyway, let's move on. The AEC out today, James, warning that around 1.5 million postal votes could slow down the counting in the Voice referendum. He is not confident we're going to get a result on the night on October 14. And new data also says we've got a record number of Australians, 17.7 million of us, who have enrolled to vote. I hope they've all enrolled to vote legitimately. But does any of this surprise you?
There's going to be a lot of fines issued this referendum, Peter, with that many people, 17.7 million now registered across the country. These people think they've only registered for what is the referendum, but moving forward, they're going to have to vote now in every election. So they say the highest number of Aboriginal people have been registered for this referendum. Aboriginal people typically don't turn out in the majority to vote for normal elections. So let's just see how many do turn up on the polling booths at the time. It's a remarkable number of people. I disagree. I think we will get a response within just 24, 48 hours. Keeping in mind there's no preferences to flow. This is just a simple yes-no pile. There will be a determination within a couple of days. Sure, there's 1.2 million postal votes, but I think with 17.7 million people registered to vote, the majority will be counted on the night, if not 24, 48 hours after.
And please, if you're voting no, it's no and no and no, and that's all you need to have on the ballot paper.
Yeah,
that
right,
and
no.
nothing
Don't
more.
just
Let's go.
Vote no, right, no.
Right, no, 100% there, James. Let's go, Luke, if we can. Some common sense, strangely enough, coming out of a big sporting organisation today. This is the acting chair of the WACA, the West Australian Cricket Ground. His name's Tom Percy. He said, let's just focus on cricket rather than politics. He went on to say the tendency of other sporting bodies, to their shame in my view, like the AFL clubs, to throw their weight and support behind every rag-taggle woke cause that comes along is something that the WACA should resist. We're a cricket club. If you want to be part of the political push, he says, then join a political party. We should just focus on the game. I tell you what, he is a rare breed in the sporting circles, isn't he?
Yeah. I agree. Good on him. And look, we've seen this play out in real life. We've seen the AFL walk some way back about involving the voice in the finals. The NRL, the same thing. Again, from listeners, Peter, all I can tell you is they want to know who's said yes to this, who's put up money for this, so we know where else to shop. This has just been an absolute disaster, an appalling disaster by the Prime Minister and the government, and for business thinking, oh, if we say yes, you know, they'll come, they'll shop, they'll attend. Bum, bum. Not going to happen. Well done to the WACA people. Got it in one.
Whacking out the woke there at the WACA, I think it is very, very good, Tom Percy. James, just before we go, I know you will have watched very carefully what was happening in the UK in the last 48 hours. Rishi Sunak winding back a lot of their climate change net zero milestones. He's earned a rebuke from the UN Secretary General, Antonio Guterres. He's lying about, this is their meeting, of course, in New York at the moment. He's lying about climate change, is that we have opened the gates to hell. What do you make of the moves by the UK Tory party?
Well done to them. And the reality is, I remember the UN when they were simply just a medic unit that would go into war-torn countries and help out those people. Why have they all of a sudden started to dictate the lives and governments right across the globe? Good on the Tories, good on the UK Parliament. I wish there would be more leaders right across the country that would stand up and say, up your bum to the UN. Go bugger off.
Hey, James Ashby, before we leave you, you look like you've got a pretty flash camping set up there in Wedderburn.
Yeah, I know, we're glamping. Sorry to tell you, I did away with the tent about 12 months ago, Peter. So yeah, it's a nice setup.
Soft.
No flies on you. That's very posh. Got to leave it there. James Ashby, Luke Grant, have a great weekend.